Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Gemcutting Conversations. When I scheduled this, I didn't realize that it was going to be Mother's Day in America. So, for everybody who is joining us from America, happy Mother's Day, and thanks for being here with us this morning, I guess. For me, it's the evening. And yeah, thanks for coming to another. Hopefully, this is not your first one. Thanks for coming to another Gem Cutting Conversations. So if you haven't been here before, every month I'm talking to a different gem cutter around the world, usually a professional cutter from one country or another, trying to get the stories, the techniques, the tools, the inspiration, and everything that goes along with it. Everything in the world of gem cutting is fair game on this show. I always tell my guests when we're in our practice session, we can be as nerdy as we want on this one because we're among friends, hopefully. I don't know if we're among all gem cutters, but at least gem cutting enthusiasts, I would imagine. So this is now, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Gosh, 9 months we've been doing gem cutting conversations. This is season 2 of COVID webinar world. Last year it was the IGT Sunday conversations. This year it's gem cutting conversations. And I am very excited. I don't know if you guys saw basically what prompted this webinar. I got these awesome books in the mail a couple of weeks ago by my good friend Julia, who we're going to be speaking to tonight. And I posted a couple of pictures online, some of her incredible work that we're going to be looking at tonight. And the response was really, it was really surprising. I mean, her work's amazing, and maybe many people haven't seen it that I know, but I wasn't expecting everyone to just get so wild about it. So I was like, okay, I have a free Sunday coming up. Maybe I should see if she's available, and we can ride this momentum and really kind of deep dive into her work, because she sent me a lot of photos, and gosh, her work is incredible. I didn't even see most of it before this week. So, but anyway, so our guest tonight, Julia Maria Künnap, we met, I think, 2 years ago now. She was here in Bangkok, doing a exhibition of her work in an art gallery. Her show was recommended to me by another gem cutting friend I know in Estonia. So Julia's from Estonia. My other friend Rita's from Estonia. And she said, "You got to go check this art show out. You're going to love it. It's right up your alley." And she was exactly right. I went there, and we were just blown away by the work. I've really never seen anyone do anything like what we're going to be looking at tonight. And I'm guessing you probably haven't either, because I don't think anyone's doing anything exactly like this. So yeah, I'm really excited to get more into it and see how it works and where the ideas come from. And you guys are welcome to ask all the questions you want to as well. So Julia, if you are ready, come on in, and we'll get the party started. Welcome.
Hello, Justin. Thank you for the um, introduction. I mean, it was too much. It's a big honor to be here.
Well, I'm just happy that we were able to coordinate it on such short notice. It's always a pleasure to like have different gem cutters, but I think I'm just looking at the screen of the people we've had before, and I think you are very unique for all the cutters that I've spoken to so far, because you're really outside of the world of just gems and jewelry. You're pushing the boundary into fine arts. I don't want to go too far into that at this moment, but I definitely want to come back to that. But first, how are you doing? Happy Mother's Day. And where are you calling from right
Thank you.
now?
I'm in a small country in Northern Europe, Estonia, it's called. And just to give you an idea, it's a country slightly bigger than Netherlands, but the population is 1.3 million people. So it's basically like a part of Paris or a bigger town, 1/10 of population of London. So and my cat is here too to join us.
So we'll have a
So
group. We'll have a group session.
yeah, that's the place, and we are Estonians here speaking Estonian. It's a different language from all other European languages, all other Indo-European languages too.
Yeah. And I know there's like only a small number of gem cutters in Estonia. I know that including you, I've met, I think 4, and I've heard that there's another. And you're saying there's not a huge population, so it wouldn't make sense that there would be a huge population of gem cutters either. But it's kind of cool to think that you might know almost every gem cutter in a whole country. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, but it's you would know gem cutters in your area, so that would be a very normal thing to do. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about who you are. How did you get started? Because I definitely want to go deep into your work, but let's get an idea about how did you even get the skill set, and how did you get to the point where you wanted to do gem cutting and carving and this sort of sculptural work? Tell us a little bit.
I have studied jewelry art, and actually all my training is in art field. So it started in jewelry art school, and that time I went to art academy at 97, yes. I think this 4 plus 2 years I spent there, BA plus MA, were the best years in that department. I studied under Professor Kadri Mälk, and what she had done to that department was she had made it to one of the best contemporary jewelry schools in the world at that moment, I think. Right. So, and my education was on one side, it was based on traditional techniques like filigree. We even did blacksmithing for 1 year. Filigree, engraving, whatever, name it, enameling, and also a year for gemology that Professor Mälk taught us. Cool. So, and that was really cool.
So that's like a pretty well-rounded program. I mean, it's not that's not a normal jewelry arts program, learning gemology and blacksmithing and also the other goldsmithing work. That's pretty...
Yeah. And at the same time, the core projects were focused on the 3rd year core project was already focused on contemporary jewelry. So the student works were made of any materials. So we were very free and very connected to the outside world, to the European jewelry art world.
And so was anyone in the school also doing gem cutting, or there was no gem cutting going on inside of that program?
We had a practic kind of hands-on thing for 1 summer, and we had a lapidary workshop. So we really had to cut 10 stones. Every one of us, not faceting, no faceting, but and the equipment was nothing to compare to what it is now. But no, yes, we did some cabs, and it was okay.
Cool.
And it gave us an idea, of course. And Professor Kadri Mälk is a stone cutter herself. She has cut stones a lot, but not as much, I think, in Tallinn, but in Ida-Oberstein in Finland and several places. But her teacher, Professor Lady Kultke, actually had focused on cutting stones, and she has done some exceptional work in stone cutting.
Okay, well, I have to check her work out too then. That's another gem cutter on my Estonian list that I'm assembling. So cool. So okay, so you did the bachelor's degree, you did the master's degree, and then what happened after that? Did you just jump straight into art, or did you have to do some kind of other job, or how did it work for you?
It went kind of fluently, because I started teaching when I was still in MA, in my MA studies, and it continued, because I graduated MA 2004, but then I think it was 2008, yes, when I was waiting for my first child, and I was more kind of into. I was freelancer, and then I had to quit the teaching job at the academy. But how I truly am an outsider of the stone cutting world. That's why I really feel honored at the moment that I'm really here talking to real stone cutters as a stone cutter, because for me, cutting or faceting stones has been as just a medium, as just another technique to express my thoughts, my ideas, and how I got into that was it's all about telling stories, but I kind of love the story, because I think it was during Christmas '97, when a friend of mine gave me a ring as a Christmas present with a huge synthetic sapphire on it. And a few months ago, I had a dream that the stone was melting, that it wasn't a real sapphire, or I mean even synthetic sapphire, but it was glass and it was melting.
Okay.
Of course, I forgot all this, but then 2008, I saw the ring in my drawer, and I remembered all this, and I thought that, wow, but maybe it's possible to do. How would it be? How would it look like?
Yeah.
And so I started. I went to school. Then I understood, because we had the lapidary workshop there. I had a few citrines. So I tried on a lap. I understood that no, I need a faceting machine or something. I need to hold the stone straight. But I also understood that I can't go anywhere to a proper lapidary workshop or to a stone cutter, because I'm going to misuse their equipment. I'm going to ruin it. So I should at least try on my own something. And that's another funny event what happened. So I thought that because I don't know if I would work on it for years and what will happen. So I just needed a basic thing. So I bought from this inland, inland company. I bought this very basic cabbing machine for housewives. And then
Okay.
I thought I need a mast, it's just basically a mast. I need to hold the stone. And there was a company in Finland. I wanted to get a quote for price for their mast. But then I thought there are two things. There was the mast, and the other thing was engraver sharpener kind of
Okay.
thing.
So you can do the carving part.
Yeah, no. It was just a sharpener, a tool to hold the engraver at
Oh, I
place to
see.
sharpen it, to carve
Yeah.
metal.
Okay.
And by some mistake, they sent me the other one, the the tool to hold the engraver at the right
Okay.
position. So, but then I thought that, but doesn't matter. I can use this too. So I've been using that since then. So I'll show you the thing. It's this small kind of tool
Okay.
where I can turn it
Okay. Okay. And then
like
you can
this
put the
and turn it
stone
like this.
inside of
And
it.
yeah, and that's where my kind of mask goes, So
Okay.
this
Okay.
goes.
So it is sort of like a fasting machine. It's just you're not using it the
Yes,
way that they thought you were going to.
yes. But since then, I've been rather happy with it. It could, of course, it can be more precise, but in general, you just need something to keep the angle right, and what's
Like the
the other one?
rotation.
The rotation, yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yes, the
let's
index.
since we're talking about, I don't know if everyone who's watching us has seen some of the photos I posted online. So let's put one up just so people can have an idea about what we're talking about when because you're talking about having a dream about gems melting. I don't think this is the first one you did, but this one is exactly that.
It's actually the second one or first one. It might be. It's
Wow.
very funny, but it is. Yes.
And so it is exactly what is this how it really looked in your dream? Like, or did it come out differently when you actually tried to do it in real life?
Well, in my dream, it was a little different because it was a different stone. It was a brilliant cut oval,
Okay.
but more or less, yes, yes. The idea, everything came out pretty well, I think.
And I think looking at this up close, because this is the best version of the photo I've ever seen so far, the fact that you just showed us that engraver head, and then I'm thinking you cut this stone on that engraver head, that's pretty impressive. Like, you're really pushing the limit of that thing in a way that maybe obviously it's not meant to do that, but it I guess it's not that different than engraving a piece of metal. You just have to rotate it in different ways. But so many people have such a hard time with faceting on a faceting machine and polishing quartz. I'm just very impressed that you got through all of it. You just figured it out anyway. Like, whatever, it's not the right machine, but I'm just going to do it anyway.
Well, I should mention, I guess, that this piece is actually, I think, 3 centimeters wide, or like an inch, a little bit more than an inch wide.
Yeah.
So I struggled, of course, I still struggle with polishing these things. At the beginning, I think for 2, 3, 4 years, I thought I'm just too stupid that I can't polish these things well. And that's another funny story. 2018, I was invited to give a workshop at Koru Jewelry Symposium,
Mm-hmm.
and in Lappeenranta, and they have a very good lapidary workshop there, like everything. And they also have a faceting machine, an Ultratech packed there. So during this 1 week workshop, it was the first time when I saw a faceting machine with my own eyes. And then I opened the manual and started reading about polishing quartz and all this. And then in the manual, it says that there are sometimes when you polish large facets on quartz, some scratches just occur, and it's very difficult to say from what they occurred.
Okay. So then you felt like you were just like all the rest of us struggling with quartz or with big facets on quartz.
Yeah, I thought it's some kind of contamination, and I went crazy with that. I almost like cleaned all my workshop before polishing. I used distilled water. I used anything. But now I'm on the other end. I think that I haven't seen any scratch from contamination. It's really hard to contaminate a lap or a stone or something. I wash stones before polishing. I wash them with soap and water, but that's it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, sometimes especially with quartz, I mean, I think it's pretty much universal. Quartz is something different. It's, it's a different, it has a different reaction to diamond. It is annoying. Sometimes it can't use the same laps. I think some people, they love quartz and they only do quartz, or maybe they do a lot of quartz and they have all the right laps. I'm not one of those people. I really try not to do quartz. I can do it if I have to, and I do have a special lap just for doing quartz, but yeah, I don't want to do that. If I can avoid to do that, I will. Obviously, though, I mean, as we're going to see, you do a lot of work in quartz. So I guess you must have gotten the hang of it now.
I like the big stones. I like big stones, and quartz is just very affordable as a material. Any other rough crystals would be quite hard to find. Faceting quality.
I'm just gonna keep on just because you sent me so many pictures. I know we won't like talk in depth about all of them, so I'm just gonna keep popping them up as we go, just so people can have a chance to absorb some of this. So this one maybe is more like your dream than the brilliant cut oval that's really looking like a puddle of ice cream or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's a.
Well, I'm just curious on the actual technique. So you got the engraver head, you figured out how to make it work for faceting, but then of course the melting part is a totally different thing. I mean, this has nothing to do with faceting. So how did you approach that part of it? Did you have to invent that technique, or did you already have a little bit of experience doing carving from your course?
Well, yes, basically making jewelry. It's a common goldsmith technique is to have a flexi shaft in your hand and do something with it. So I think carving itself is very easy to do. It's just you remove the unnecessary material. Maybe the question is that how do you know what's unnecessary?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you know what the drips are going to look like?
Well, you make models, but it's basically sculptor's work. It's that's what I've studied too. We did very classical drawing and sculpture at the art academy.
And and when you sent me this book, one of the things I actually really liked the most about it was like the actual behind the scenes. Like on the front of this book, it's got all the all the stones and stuff, but then on the back is like your sketchbook. And I loved this because I was really trying to think like, oh, this is how she works it out. Like this is how she figures out what she's going to do. She just draws it. So she does know what the drips are going to look like. And it's so cool. So this is yeah, this is great. Like to get, you've got like
Yeah.
the work and then the behind the scenes. I was really impressed with that one. Just
Mm.
because I know when you were here and I saw your work in real life, I was just like, wow, this is so crazy. Like, I mean, crazy in a great way. Like, I loved it, and I was just thinking, how did it, how do you even come up with it? But now that I've seen your sketches, I realize how, you really plan it out. You're sort of visually plan it out before you start cutting.
Yes, not with the first one, and but it depends also. Some things I need to imagine with paper and pencil. Yeah, it's a good way to think.
Okay, so there's already a bunch of questions
Mm.
popping up. So let me, I won't let them wait too long. Somebody had already asked, what kind of laps are you using for the faceting part? Are you just using anything special for cutting and polishing?
Mm, no, not really. Not yet. I should upgrade, I think. But I just have this the very basic, the what are
Okay, just like toppers
the
for
diamond
cutting.
flats.
Yeah.
Yeah, toppers, yeah. And I don't know, they work fine.
And so
No problem.
your machine is it's just a flat lap, right?
Yeah, it's just back up. I can just show you
And then you're
like
just basically
here.
setting that.
Yes.
So you mounted
Yeah.
that pole on there so that you could put your engraver head.
Yes, let me show you how it's very simple. Mm. So, and this goes here like this.
Wow, yeah, it is really
Yeah.
simple. It's
Here, here
it's
connected. Here
it's
I can put the top.
okay. It's actually quite similar to like the kind of handpiece they're using in the Czech Republic. Like theirs is old looking and made of wood, but it's also has it's on that, or they used to have it on a pole like that, and
Mm-hmm.
they had this little handpiece that would come off, kind of like yours, but yours is a little bit, I think, a little bit more sophisticated than that one. Um,
I think so. That Victoria's machine is very similar too.
yeah, I mean, it's
There's
kind
that,
of going on the rail.
yeah, and it's better because it leans the handpiece leans on the rail, so it's always fixed. Mine, I have to kind of feel it.
Okay. Is it
What's the right
is it
position?
wobbling on the pole or is it tight on there?
It's so and so, but I would do an upgrade to this because I like the fact that I can take it off so simply,
Yeah.
watch it, and or sometimes I do some carving and then I put it back, because I need to do both
Okay.
parts. So I would just add a kind of clamp
Mhm.
here, like instead just I don't know, draw like drill a hole or something, or mill a hole here, or so that it would have some kind of spring connection,
Okay.
how to say, so that it's always fixed to one side.
So it's not like swinging all around.
Yeah, because there's, of course, it's not swinging. Well, let me see. I'll take the mask off. Because this is this. I can, it goes like that. Right. Yeah, like this. So
And then there's
it
nowhere to
does have a huge, like a
right.
wobbling thing
Okay.
here.
And
But
it doesn't have a lock in there. There's no stop at all. It just
no,
your
yeah,
hand just
just with my hand. That's very nice. That I like.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
sure that every faceter watching this is just like, you know, we usually like stops because it helps us control the thing, but yours is just freehand, which it is the same as Victoria's. Hers is like you just push it into the lap and nothing's stopping you but your own hand. So you're doing the same. You're just pushing
Yes.
down. So yeah, exactly. Someone just said that's some serious hand control. So yeah, I would agree. And then
Maybe.
so what about the polishing then? What are you doing for polishing? Are you using diamond powder or cerium or some other stuff?
Yes, I'm using cerium, and in various ways. I at first I just had a plastic lap. What was it? Plexiglass, white plexiglass lap.
Okay.
And I just put, because it came with a machine, so I just put some cerium on there. Worked very well. Then I got some film laps, like
Mm-hmm.
small film laps, but they are not so good. I think they made too round facets even for me.
Okay.
And then I used I got this dark side. I think it was dark side. It's called what is it called? Dark side, yes.
Okay.
Then I
Yeah.
got dark side, and then I got this lightning lap. I think it was some kind of, from lightning lap. So, but I've been reading forums, reading the threads in various forums. I think your posts as well. And so I've tried everything, but and I still I don't know. When sometimes something works on one stone and it's okay, and then it just kind of gets very slow,
Yeah.
and then the other technique comes out,
Yeah.
and it's I
I
don't
was
know.
talking to
Yeah.
somebody recently. I can't remember who was telling me this story, but they were working on a stone and they said it was like the worst stone that they ever had, and every facet had a different lap. Like it was getting scratches everywhere, and they would change the lap, and one lap would work well, and then they'd go to the next facet to polish, and then it wasn't working again, and they changed the lap, and then it worked well. So they were writing down on their faceting pattern this this facet was on this lap, this facet goes on this lap. It was like, wow, okay, that's not fun. Um, but okay,
So this.
let's talk about this piece for a second. I want to put on my teacher hat here for a second, you know, because as a gem cutting teacher, I'm looking at a lot of stones all the time and critiquing them. And when I look at this stone and you just showed us that crazy machine, my mind is blown. Like I'm looking at the meat points. It's quite, you know, it's a simple cut, but it's very well done. And the step cut is so sensitive towards imbalances, right? Like one side of that step can get too big or the other too small. And this is like, it's perfect. All the corners are lined up. The point at the top is lined up. The square is square. Just, I don't think I can do that with your machine. That sounds really hard. And, you know, on top of the fact that there's a corner of it that's melted. So I'm just going to keep being impressed all night. Okay. This is going to be my constant reaction to this, because every piece is blows my mind. So somebody had asked, do you do all the faceting first and then do the melting part, or do you go back and forth, or how does it work?
Yeah, mostly it works that way. Just for the piece, thank you, Justin. I wanted to point out that I think it's like 4 centimeters or 5 centimeters, the square, the
Okay.
side of a square. So it's like really long, and it's true with the step cut, and it's very shallow also. So there are like 5 steps, and I think the difference is like, I don't know, less than 5 degrees. I can't remember, but it's really shallow.
Yeah.
And that's why I left it on the photo. You can all see that there is the midpoint is not where it should be, with a with
Yeah.
a with a. But I left it because that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I do faceting in the beginning, yes, mostly in the beginning. And then I used to cover all the faceted part with wax, just that I won't accidentally touch it while I'm carving the melted part.
And so when you're still in the process of doing this, what does the melted part look like before you've cut it? Is it just it's a big piece of stone that you haven't shaped yet, or do you do some pre-shaping first just to get it sort of in the right place?
Yeah, it's basically I have to do the faceting on the edge of the lap because
Right.
of that, and so it's the melted part, which is uncut, is touched with a lap edge.
Okay.
But I can show you, actually. I have a few unfinished pieces here, so I can show you. Like this one, for example.
Okay. So
You
yeah,
see?
I see the
Yeah,
facets. The melted part's
yeah,
not done though, right? It's still rough.
yeah. It's kind of rough.
Oh, and you can see where it's touched the lap just from hitting the edges and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I'll show you another one. That will be a kind of bump on this rose quartz.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see
So you
that.
can see that
It's like a
it
second
has
stone
touched
growing
the.
out of it. It's like out of cancer or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're right.
Yeah, okay. That's so cool. I mean, it's so hard to think
Yeah.
about it, like not trying to not touch the lap. Do you ever make a mistake, like you accidentally make such a big groove into it that you really have to cut more away than you meant to? Yeah.
Often, yes, quite often.
Okay.
Well, it's I think for a faceted stone, we all make so many mistakes, actually, that every stone will become a collection of mistakes
Yeah, that's true.
in the end. Because the only perfect thing about faceting is the faceting diagram.
True.
And everything that's becomes materialized will have its mistakes. So just our task is to accept these mistakes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, you have to make more mistakes to hide the first mistake.
So then it becomes something totally unique that you never knew was going to happen.
Yeah, it's just you have to accept that humans are imperfect.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I think for me as a cutter who's trying to, as a person who's cutting customer stones and wanting to get them done in a reasonable amount of time, sometimes you do have a little mistake or that one meet point that just isn't perfect, and then you're like, okay, what's the quickest way to work this out to make it, because you can't spend like one whole week just trying to do one little thing. There has to be a line somewhere where you're like, it's good enough, it's okay, it's better than everyone else's, so it's
Yeah.
okay. Okay, well, just to clarify, because somebody asked this and I want to make sure this is clear, these are only one piece, right? Nothing's glued together. This is one stone faceted and melted
Yeah.
as one piece. There's no
Yes.
glue, no tricks.
No.
So how long does it take? Like, for instance, with the one we just saw, the onyx one, that's the 5 steps. How long does it take to do something like that?
That was very big. I think that's actually in a museum collection here. So yeah, I can't remember about that one, but it seems like that. I do the pavilion one day, the crown on another day, and then for the melted part another day. I mean, it's not always like that. Some stones are smaller, sometimes I do more, but there are other things to do as well.
Yeah.
I mean, on my life, and also when I engrave, I'm afraid of getting tired. So there's like, I felt that there's no point to work very hard for very long time, because more tired you get, more prone you are to make mistakes, and then it just one mistake can cost you 2-3 hours. So it's better to do something else.
Yeah. And so, okay, somebody just asked the question that was in my mind. When you're, so I've had a issue with this as well. Using the flexi shaft to carve, I've done it a couple of times and made the thing I wanted to make. But then when I go to polish it, I realize I don't have any of the right bits for polishing. And I'm just wondering, what do you use? Do you just use felt bits and put the abrasive on there, or do you have some other secret technique that we don't know about, or that I don't know about?
I might have some. I don't know if they're secret or not, but I haven't found any good answers from anywhere. You know, you have the diamond bits and you can create the shape, but how to get to the polished or near to polished thing, it's very hard, because all the diamond bits, they make this subsurface damage. I think
Yeah, they're
terrible
super rough.
subsurface
They're
damage.
super rough.
They need something. Yes, they need something that kind of pets it, or caresses this kind of something. So what I've used was very good for like, for example, these melting points. I should mention that I carve first. I use the very rough diamond bits to give the overall shape, and when I need to do this fluent or fluid shape, whatever kind, then I work it all over by hand. And I have the sponges that are covered with diamond, and they're with a different grade. They start from, I think, I'll show you, from 60 or 80 or something. They look like that. I've cut it already. This is like.
Oh wow! So it comes with abrasive already inside. This is just like a.
It's diamond. It's diamond, but it's kind of soft.
Wow.
And
Where do you get that?
internet.
Oh.
I don't know. 3M was making them, but I'm sure you can find them from glass cutters or something. But it's diamond, so it's very good. And also, I think from this people who use it as for floor, stone floors.
Oh, okay.
They use these kind of things.
And then
Also
you can, so then you can go through
edge.
some different grits.
Yes. So this is very good, and they work very fast, and it's very easy to go up to 3,000. Actually, I think that this is 3,000. This is what is it? 1,500. But so yeah. So there I can really have a smooth surface. This 3,000 I can already polish with cerium, so that's no problem. On felt, and then on felt, there's no problem.
Okay.
But with these very small areas that are hard to reach, for these things I have other bits. Also from the stone floor makers. I'll show you. They have this kind of discs.
Oh, weird. Okay. Never seen that.
Yeah, and also you can get them from a hardware store. Actually, it's diamond compound thing. It's 400. That's very easy. They have the same grid system. It's not like coarse, medium, and fine, which are very hard to understand what they are. So what I do this with the small things, I actually take them off from here, like bend them
So you
off.
can just pull one of those off.
Yes, and then I glue with epoxy. I glue it to a plastic bolt, actually.
Okay.
And so yes,
a handle then.
I think these are very good ones, and they cost nothing. They wear off very quickly.
Okay.
But they do very good job.
So speaking of hard to reach places, I'll put up another one. This one seemed like this is another one that was so impressive to me because you've taken the idea of melting into a different direction now. It's like the stone just bent in half. But then when I look at it, what I start to think about is like, okay, it's bent. That's crazy in itself, but then you're still faceting angles that are actually reflecting light. Like that was what really impressed me with this piece, was like the facets are still working even though the stone's all appears to be bent in half. The facets are still reflecting light. So how does that work when you're faceting for this piece specifically, when you're faceting around a bend? Do you just facet it until the stone ends in the middle, or how does it work?
Well, I try to use my skills to give that impression. It's there's no special technique or anything. I do as much as possible on the lap, on the straight lap, and what I can't, then I do it by hand, trying not to damage the rest of the stone. But it's actually the point where it gets interesting, because you can actually start painting with facets. You can really do it by hand. And here are some of my latest pieces that still, where the curved part is not polished yet. I'll show you. Now wait, there's a need for a darker background. So, okay.
Oh yeah, wow. So you're going in a new direction now. This is still quartz, or this is something else now?
This is rose quartz. I'll show you another one. So that, yeah.
Oh wow.
So here I really needed to do it somehow by hand. That's the backside.
Just to go around that complex curve.
Yes. Yeah.
So then how aware are you of, using special angles to get the light reflection? Are you thinking about that, or is it just happen when it happens?
Well, here it was easy, kind of, because I had faceted the stone on a right angle anyway.
Okay.
So I just had to kind of continue in the same direction.
Okay. So you're aware of the angles of quartz and the angles of whatever else you're using. You're not just randomly making facets. You've looked these things up. Well, because you said you're an outsider, so then you have to wonder, like, well, how far did she go in? How far did she come in? Did she really look at all the gemology stuff, or she's just making a sculpture? But I see that you're paying attention to the angles, because that piece I just showed, there's a lot of light coming back through the smoky quartz. And it's a weird, it's a trippy effect. It's really, that's why I put on the flyer like surreal, because when I saw that one, I was just like, that is really surreal. Like the gemstone. When you were here in Bangkok, I think you told me like a funny story that someone, like a girl, came up and asked you one time, were you like melting them with a hair dryer or something like that? Like someone thought you were actually melting the stone. Did you tell me a story like that, or am I just imagining?
No, it was a jewelry gallerist actually who said that, but quartz isn't that hard to melt, is it?
Hey, well, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Well,
let's take it in a
I've
different.
never tried. Maybe it is actually
Yeah, maybe
easy
she
to make.
knows
I've never tried.
something. Maybe she knows something else. Okay, so when I shared the photos the other day, I didn't show very many of your different styles. So I want to show something that maybe nobody has seen yet, something totally different than the melted idea, and then you can maybe tell us a little bit about where this idea comes from. So this is in lapis, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it kind of looks like a paint stroke across the paper or something, like a
Mhm.
paintbrush. So I'm guessing this is an idea that came later. You started with the melting gems from your dream, and then some other time you tell us about this. When did you start doing this kind of stuff?
Oh, that was an exhibition. That was the golden book you have there, uh, where I had quite quite many of these brush strokes. Mm. Honestly, I can't remember how I got to the point, but I think it's like I use a stone as oil and a human body as canvas. So I think it came from there,
Yeah.
like to work as a fine artist on human body.
And so for this piece, how big is it?
It's 10 centimeters long or wide. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
And
a brooch.
it's a brooch, yeah. And then you've got another one, and maybe the other one shows the details even better just by the way the light's hitting it, but you can see how, I mean, everyone else can see how intricate the carving aspect is. Like you've really gone through, and I'm guessing you're just doing all this now by hand. There's no fastening machine involved with this part.
This has a special kind of milling machine I've created with a small Proxon, the play, basically the hand carving tool, you know. So where I can do a parallel lines, this perfect curve, you know, the very slight curve. Yeah.
So for this one, then you've got the flexi shaft or something else mounted, and you're moving the stone around now instead of moving it.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I'm moving the stone around, yes.
So then that's a lot easier.
Because you can't really do it by hand. To do these parallel lines on stone, you need some part of your tools to be fixed. You know, some
Just
part of
the
your.
control, yeah.
You
Someone in
know.
the chat had said they'd love to see what you would do like with a concave fantasy machine, but I don't think you need it. I think we can see so many wild effects that you've created without that thing. It's almost more interesting that you don't have, some of the other kind of technology that people are using now to do, these sort of fantasy effects. Like you we were talking, before the chat last week, we were talking about the Munsteiners, and I think you said your mentor had apprenticed a bit with the Munsteiners. And one of the things that I've always been so impressed with their work is they're also doing a lot of stuff freehand, or they're inventing tools, because the skill that they're working on, or the crazy stuff that they're doing, obviously there's no tool for that, or there's no special tool for that. They're just inventing stuff. And I feel like you're in the same tradition. Like you have an idea, but there's no tool to make this, so you just have to make the tool work in some new way.
I think Moonsteiners are using the glass cutting techniques quite a lot, because if you've been to a glass cutting workshop or glass carving workshop, then you'd understand how they do their things. So they just apply the same techniques on stones.
Yeah. I've never
Yes, I've sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I've never seen their like behind the scenes about how they work, so I didn't never thought about that. But yeah, It's cool. Okay, I'm just gonna keep bouncing around because there's just so many pieces that I want to show. So this is kind of a mix between both. We've got the brush strokes and the melting now. So you've combined those ideas, I think. But what's the material now though? Because now we're doing something else.
Yeah, it's Nephrite.
Oh, okay.
I also try to get the most out of a material because nephrite is really something you can carve so thin that you can almost lose the sharp edge between the material and air, like when the material then vanishes
Mm,
there. It's like because it's very difficult to make this line uncertain. I mean, you have cotton balls or things like that, but they're soft. But if you have something solid and you want to unclear the line between the material and immaterial, like watercolor.
yeah.
Mm.
I really like that. You know, all of this kind of goes back to your dream, right? Like a melted stone. And when you, I don't know if it's when you told this to me or when I just saw your piece in the gallery, and I just thought, oh, a melting gemstone. It's such a simple thought, but it goes in so many ways, you know. I mean, it's just so interesting because it's combining these hard lines with something so organic. And you know, when we see some of the other ones like the drips, they just, you know, they look so natural, like whether it's ice dripping or, you know, some of the other ones look like melting chocolate. You know, it looks like something that we recognize so easily. And then when
Mhm.
you combine it with either the brush stroke or the faceted stone, it's like the juxtaposition. It, it's just like something we've never thought about before. But when you think about it, you're like, oh, it's, yeah, it's simple. But the execution, obviously not simple. Making it is not simple, but you make it look so easy.
Mm. Thanks. Yeah. Well, it can't be other ways, can't it? Can it?
Well, we
You
don't know. I
really
mean,
see that it's such a hard work behind. Well, it should look easy and light. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, maybe if we have another conversation in 5 years, then you'll have taken it into some completely other direction. Uh, maybe still melting, or maybe something else is happening. So, okay, let's look at another one because you have gone in many directions already. So wait, when did you start doing the melting? You know, when was the first idea or the first piece that you made?
I think it was 2010 or 9.
Okay,
Yeah.
so pretty much like 10 years now you've been exploring this because as I'm going to show, you've taken it in many directions, and here's another idea of this sort of element of water hit meets element of earth, I guess. Like you've turned
Yeah.
something hard into something soft in a totally other way.
Yeah. Yes, I'm continuing with this because I really enjoy how the step cut pavilion, you can see the lines um,
Yeah, like the
curve.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, like you can see the bottom of it's very hard and you know, sort of very straight, and then the top is just it's water. It's a drip of water. I think this one you can see it maybe with the purple you can see it pretty clearly as well, like that rippling.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I think the juxtaposition is great. I mean, I love it. And then so for the pieces that have, you know, the rings and stuff, you're also doing the metal work too?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So far,
Okay. So basically your university course was really beneficial because you learned not only how to do the goldsmithing but the, you know, getting started on the stone cutting, and you're still doing both of them. Like if you just learn how to cut stones, you wouldn't maybe know how to do any of the goldsmithing, which then would mean some of these things would be pretty hard to set. And if you had never learned how to cut the stones, you maybe would have been feeling a little bit limited about how to make that idea come true.
Yeah, yeah. It's because I have this art background. That's what I am. I think jewelry artist.
Yeah.
So I just use all the techniques I know to express myself.
Yeah. So, okay, let's. I'm going to just keep showing pieces as we go. We don't have to talk
Mhm.
about each one. I'm just going to keep showing them. But one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about tonight was, so everybody that I've talked to in this show, and most of the people that I talk to in life who are gem cutters, they're pretty much working in one industry, right? Like me personally, I'm cutting gemstones that are going into jewelry. Everything's going into jewelry. The market that it's getting sold in is the jewelry market, whether it's in a jewelry shop or somebody's Etsy shop or whatever. But your pieces, though, as we can see, it is gemstones and it is jewelry. You're also, you are in the fine arts world. You're not necessarily just working in the, or maybe you're not at all working in the jewelry industry. I don't know. You can tell us. But how has that worked for you as a jewelry artist, but in that other world, the art world?
Well, I consider myself in art jewelry or jewelry art world. It's unfortunately still not fine arts world, but I work with galleries, with jewelry galleries, and their clients, collectors, museums,
Okay.
people, but yeah, people who like art. So
Yeah.
they, yeah.
And so what's stopping it from becoming fine art? Is it the medium or is it something else?
Well, as a I think contemporary jewelry can be considered. It's not fine art. It's like it's not applied art. It's not fine art. It's the third way.
Okay.
That's I think where it is now. But in that field, I'm also kind of outsider because honestly, I don't know many people facet who use faceted stone as a medium
Yeah.
that they cut themselves. You know how they who create their art in the form of faceting.
Yeah. Well, but I know, like, for instance, in London in the V&A Museum, they have a whole jewelry gallery. So, I mean, I know that obviously jewelry is in the world of art. Yeah, I guess maybe it just depends on, how the art world classifies different things. I guess it doesn't really mean anything too much as far as.
Well, V&A is applied art museum. It's not
Mm,
fine art museum, and
okay.
also yeah, but also MAD in New York, like
Hmm.
Museum of Arts and Design. It's applied art museum, and I'm really lucky to have my piece there.
Mm. You have pieces
So
there now?
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks to Sienna Gallery.
So if anyone's in New York, they can go and see some of your work tomorrow.
Yes, they can. Actually, you showed the piece, the Nephrite earrings.
Oh, okay.
That's,
So these ones, right?
that's it. Yes.
Cool. Okay. So if anybody's in New York, it's Mother's Day morning. You can maybe go today and see it.
Mm.
After this talk, you can go out with your either mother or child, depending on which one of them you are. And yeah. Okay. Well, let's keep talking about that, but I'm going to bring up something totally different now that has nothing to do with melting. It's almost like you've gone in the other direction, and this is just another, I guess, mind-blowing thing. So talk to us about this. What are we looking at here? This is just so cool.
It's a model and a piece. Yeah, it's a brooch of kahalong and in a shape of crumpled paper. Mm.
And so this one again is very impressive. It's hard to, I mean, you know, I guess when you look at a sculpture and you really try to imagine how did the artist do this, it's a little bit hard to understand how do you even approach this shape because it's so complicated and you know, there's so many like interior spaces and trying to think about polishing in there. What did you say the stone was?
It's a kahalong.
What's that?
Kahalong. It's a type of quartz.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-mm.
So
Maybe I pronounce it in the wrong way.
maybe I just,
It's also in the catalog in the golden book, so it's written correctly anyway.
okay.
White agate, somebody says.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that word before. Yeah, I'm looking at it in the book and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that is. Okay, so that's just me. Someone else knows. Thank you, Rima. She knew. Okay, so yeah, you've done a few of these. So where did the inspiration come from for that? You know, what made you think to do this one?
Well, it's most of my work have been has I've been playing with ideas of this moment and eternity and about the value of the faceted stone, and at the same time it's melted, and so I think it's here too. You know, the moment of a capture the moment of a paper that you are throwing away as a bad idea. You know, it didn't work out. But it's carved in stone,
Yeah,
so in a very long-lasting material.
yeah. It's just
So I'm playing with that.
yeah. I hope one day, I mean, I guess I already did get to do this, but I really want to see all of these pieces in one place where I can just sit there for hours contemplating them. I guess I did get to do that. I was lucky enough to do that in Bangkok, but you didn't have, or I don't know, I guess I should have just gone more than once because the more I look at them, I'm just like, man, these are so cool. Like, and you know, just what you just said, you know, the idea that you're just gonna throw away a bad idea, but now you've like immortalized it forever, and we're just gonna have to think about what does that even mean now, um, you know, for the stone. It's because it's not a piece of paper; it's a stone, so it's forever a crumpled up
Hmm.
stone.
But you asked about how do I carve or how do I do these complex things. It's basic modeling and it's basic sculpture techniques. Actually, you you start from the overall shape.
Hmm.
From bigger details, they go more into detail. You choose you look at the shape from all three directions, and you cut the silhouette first, and
Okay.
then you remove material smaller and smaller, like
Okay.
get more into detail.
I guess that makes sense, and that makes it seem pretty sort of linear and achievable, as opposed to thinking about all these very minute details. I guess those really probably come in later, right?
But it's also a stone cutter. I mean, a sculptor. You know, stone. What are they called?
Like a sculpt,
Who makes statues?
yeah, like a sculptor.
Yes, it's also always a model. There's always a clay model. And so you just basically copy a clay model.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, what I'm doing right now, because we're talking about this, then I can show you. I'm making this set of rings. Here is one of them is ready, that are kind of like covered, so you can't see the stone. You can just imagine what kind of stone is underneath. It's onyx, but it's kind of like covered up with a piece of cloth or something.
Wow. So what stage is this in now? It's carved but not polished, or
This is ready. I don't polish it.
okay.
It's yeah, so it's kind of matte.
Okay.
So the next one, I can show you the model for it. It's just this napkin, tissue paper,
Okay.
that I've put on this dried like that, and that's my model. Wait.
Okay. And so
And
now,
so
now you're just looking at that thing.
yeah, and here's the next one. This is the faceted stone, like an emerald underneath.
Wow.
So this is in process.
Okay. And so it seems like, we've seen you using a few different materials, but it seems like you like the quartz family a lot, whether it's quartz or it's, sort of crystocrystalline, other varieties like, like onyx and like that, the white chalcedony that we were just looking at. Is that just because what you were saying before, like you can get a big stone that's not too expensive, or do you just feel comfortable with quartz now, different kinds of quartz?
No, yeah, I think it's the size and the colors and the quality, or it is often quartz.
Mm-hmm.
And when I use when I try to find a stone that doesn't have any pattern inside, which is like solid color.
Yeah.
So tell me other alternatives. I'd go for it.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I was like, what could you use? Well, what about, have you ever thought about opal? I mean, not all opal.
Quartz.
Yeah, true.
Opal is quartz.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me think about that. I'll come back. Well,
Mm.
somebody asked a really interesting question that I never thought about. Do you ever utilize inclusions in the stones, or do you try to get everything really clean?
I think you had these photos also of the rings that look like melting ice cubes in a shape of brilliance.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think these ones, right?
Yeah. No, these are
Uh,
like water splashes, but they were on the black
oh,
background, and
oh,
various stages of a
yeah.
melting
Okay,
ring.
there you go.
Yes. So that's where I faceted the part with inclusions, and the
Mm-hmm.
melting part is clear.
Ah, tricky. So then there's like this contrast of clarity.
Mhm.
So then you really have to think about, you're looking, for us, it's so clear to see this, but when you're looking at a piece of quartz, you're really having to use a lot of imagination to figure out, half the stones included, half the stones clean, and I'm going to make a faceted stone over here and a melty bit over here. And that's all just in your mind, right?
And then it's very hard to find a piece of quartz which has inclusions in the middle and clear parts on both sides, because usually it's just the top is clear and the other part is with inclusions.
Yeah. And so yeah, this set, is this from a different series? Like this one feels a bit different than everything that we've seen so far. Like it's a slightly different idea.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's like it's the solitary ring that is like made of an ice cube that's melting away.
So to go back to that thought of like, working in the fine arts, or I guess the applied arts world, how, when you do gallery shows and stuff like that, how do people react to this work? What do people say to you other than it's not that hard to melt quartz?
I I think I've been mm, mm, I think stones or faceted stones were kind of gone, had disappeared from that world because people or the artists had tried to find some modern materials, like more modern contemporary materials.
Yeah.
So there are not many artists who work with traditional materials, so completely like gold, silver, and faceted stones. But there are some, and I think it's coming back.
Okay. So
Yeah,
maybe you're part of that. Maybe you're blazing the trail for some people people that see your work. Um, yeah, because that is true. When I think about modern jewelry art that I see in museums, people are playing with plastics and people are playing with bakelite and people are playing with, like you said, other modern materials that aren't metal and gems anymore. They're like other stuff,
yeah,
modern stuff. So
yeah,
you're I guess in a way you're bringing it back to the old school, but in a way that nobody's ever thought about before. Because obviously, here we're just looking at a crystal that melted. Nobody ever thought about that before.
yeah.
I think.
Seems so. I don't know. It's surprising myself to myself too, but because it's such a simple idea in a way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm just gonna keep bouncing through these because there's just so many cool ones. And so, what about the world of jewelry? I mean, if you're doing gallery shows, are you also doing I mean, are you also interacting with the normal jewelry industry, or is that a different world for you? As an outsider, you were saying.
Mm. What do you mean the normal jewelry industry?
Well, I mean, like if someone goes into a jewelry shop to buy a normal faceted stone in a ring, are they are you trying to catch those people too, or do you have an intention like that? Are you trying to show this to the jewelry world as well, or just the art world and wherever they overlap?
Yeah, wherever they overlap, I think there's uh, I really hope the gallerists do this because obviously it's impossible to do everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I, I can't do all my marketing, and I find it really nice to work with galleries.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So
I
there's
mean,
a lot of education, and yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of a mentality. I mean, I guess if I was just to think about my own experience of walking into a jewelry store and walking into a small gallery or even a large museum gallery, you don't I don't think people usually go into the museum or the gallery necessarily to buy something. They might just want to be inspired or see something. Whereas usually when you walk into the jewelry store, you have some kind of buying intention or at least a shopping intention, like you're thinking about buying something. And of course, this work is for sale. You would obviously you would like to sell it, but you can also just appreciate it. I mean, I can just appreciate it as art. I don't need to necessarily buy it, where I wouldn't just go look at a faceted stone unless it was something extra amazing and special. You know, if it was just a normal stone in a normal jewelry shop, I would I would just find one that I liked or whatever, and I wouldn't just stare at it the way that I might stare at some of these pieces and contemplate, you know, the meaning of life or something.
But it's like in other fields too, you know. It's like an fashion, I guess. The more boutique places, more
Yeah, that's true.
big industry or furniture, any kind
Yeah.
of author jewelry or furniture or anything.
Yeah, I guess there can be more utilitarian versions
Some
of things
people,
and more abstract, you know, creative versions of, you know, those things too. So that's a good point. Somebody had asked, what material are we looking at in this stone or in this piece?
it's smoky quartz.
Okay. Because the way that the reflection pattern, it almost is looking like I guess what was I thinking about? It looks like hematite or something, you know, like it has that gold look to it. And it looks almost opaque, just maybe the way the photo is, but then the drips are obviously something else. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's quite light, smoky quartz. Hmm.
So then what do you think for future ideas? I mean, for everything that we've seen so far, as far as the melted stones go, you're working a lot with step cuts and playing around with the illusion and the geometry that the step cut uses. We saw a few brilliants, but do you think will you have an interest in playing with like other kinds of patterns in your work, or are you thinking about anything like that?
When it supports my idea, because I've been using really general, kind of generic cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like people can relate. People, when you look at it, yeah, this is different, very different from what I'm talking. But in general, yes, that it resembles something they've already seen. So
Okay.
I'm using this impression.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're giving them something familiar so you can break it in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like if we see this and we recognize, okay, a square step cut, but it's melted because
Mm-hmm.
we left it in the car for too long or whatever. You know, this could be a piece of chocolate or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, as you said, this one, it's not so familiar, right? You're using a different kind of a shape. You're not using a classical, I mean, it's still a step cut, but it doesn't look like a normal faceted classic shape. So then maybe it obviously the melting part is very, very cool, but you're not breaking it in that same way. You're not breaking a traditional object. You're just making something new.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very early piece, actually, also.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. Quite difficult to cut. Also, very, uh, the facets are very close to each other, how to say.
Yeah, like
Big
similar
difference.
angles. It's
Yeah.
crazy because I all the tools that you have, I have here in my studio, and I've never even considered, even after I saw your work, I never even considered to pick up the flexi shaft and try to carve anything into the stone. I don't know why. It never inspired me in that way. And it's awesome to see for you, the idea is so strong that it didn't matter that you didn't have the right gear or the you know the correct tools, you just like whatever I can use to make this idea is fine, you know, and you figured out how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's just my background.
Mm.
Also, yeah.
So on the technical side of it, you know, when it comes, because obviously the hardest, this is my opinion, but I think everyone thinks this, the hardest part of cutting is polishing, and sometimes you have that facet or that stone that just doesn't want to cooperate. Do you ever have that, you know, that experience where you have the whole thing worked out? Like for instance, on a piece like this, you know, you've got your melted part, you've got your outline, you've got your facets put in, and then when you start polishing, maybe one facet has to get polished and polished and polished, and it messes everything up. Does that happen to you? You know, are you having this experience as well, and then trying to put it all back together again?
Yes, and I think I always think it's the problem with my gear or my knowledge, but so I've found some ways, like when I have a big stone with big tablet, table, big
Mm-hmm.
table. Um, I cut the table. I cut a few facets on the crown, but not the last facets that meet the table. And then I cut the table and I take it off the polishing machine. The lap,
Mm-hmm.
not off the top, but with a handpiece, and I polish it on the felt and this round felt thing.
Oh, okay. So
So
it's
and it doesn't really matter that it rounds the edges because I cut these small facets afterwards,
no, it's
and
a good
the
idea.
center part will be all flat actually.
It's a good idea. I actually I have one friend in England who is regularly rounding the tables as a way to sort of hide inclusions inside of emeralds and stuff, or to fix some problems that he has with these emeralds that he has to recut. And so, but I guess this is actually a traditional technique. They call it tallow top. It's not exactly what you're doing, but you're what you're doing there, what you just described is sort of similar, where they're intentionally rounding the table a little bit around the edges, but they don't cut it off. Then they leave it so that the whole table is like a very shallow cabochon. Um, no one really talks about that anymore, but yeah, it's something that people used to do. Um, I'm not really sure why, but it, you know, it has some functions. But it's kind of interesting that you're talking about that too, like, you know, polishing. Have you ever used wood for polishing instead of, you know, felt?
I mm, wood maybe not. I've used leather.
Okay. Because I know that they're using wood, and I know wood was a traditional
Hmm.
cabochon polishing material, and I think some concave people also use wood mandrels. So could be
Hmm.
interesting. I've never done it, so I don't know what the benefits of the wood are, but could be
I
yeah.
use wood sticks on a flexi shaft. Toothpicks actually. And
Mhm.
sometimes when it's very hard to reach part, then I use loose grip and toothpick on flexi shaft.
Okay, so that works. Okay, there's a question that keeps popping up, and I've been sort of ignoring it. Let's talk about the books a little bit, because I know you have some books um to sell. You sent me these, but but now I found out you have more. So if people want the books, um they directly contact you?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave at the end, I'll pop up a slide that has your contact info, but people can find you on Facebook, or on Facebook's the best way, right?
Yes, Facebook is the best.
Okay,
Or
so yeah,
Instagram.
so there's two books. I'll show the books since I have them here. So these are from two different shows, is that correct? Two different gallery shows. So this one has the gold. I guess we'll call this one the gold one. The name The name is in Estonian, so you'll have to tell us.
It's in English as well. It's a matter of life and death.
Oh, I see. It's down here. Okay.
And yes, and the title, just a few words. The title comes from two things. That first, the show took place in a former church that is now a museum, and in that church they also present most valuable art piece of in Estonia, that is a dance macabre, that dance with death from Middle Ages. And so the matter of life and death was very present there in this church. Also, when you do something, when you cut stones or whatever you do, what you care about, then all these questions that pop up become kind of matters of life and death, like how you and in for example, when you cut your faceted stone, when you facet stones, and all at the same time, all these life and death questions are like in the area of less than a square millimeter or something.
One of just talking about life and death, one thing that I think about a lot, especially when I look at antique jewelry and old jewelry, I think one thing that's so cool about being a gem cutter is like the material that we work in is so like long lasting. Like if you cut a gem, unless someone actually breaks it or something, like it's probably going to be around for forever. Like when you look at like what still exists from ancient times, it's like stone things, not necessarily gemstone things, but like the pyramids or like old monasteries or whatever. It's just like stone structures, and gemstones is kind of the same. Maybe we don't realize how old, like who knows, maybe some stone that we recut could have already been recut and recut and recut, and it's actually from like the Renaissance. Like it was this could have been Queen Elizabeth's ring, recut so many times that we don't remember it anymore because it wasn't a extra special stone to begin with. But just thinking about, sometimes I do think about, like you look at the stone and you're like, how old is this stone? Like any of the stones, they're millions of years or hundreds of thousands of years, and then you're putting so much more meaning into them through your work. It's interesting to
I think it's so fundamentally different, but I thought now you say it's not, but with gold, because gold is has been melted, thousands and thousands and thousands of time, and I think every goldsmith who does something just has to hope that his piece is not melted very soon.
Yeah.
Because yeah, but with gems, I thought it's a little different, but as you pointed out, it's recut, recut, and recut.
Yeah, maybe not always though. I mean, that's just maybe that could happen, but it doesn't mean it always does. I mean, who knows? Maybe also sometimes we're looking at a stone, like a step cut stone. How do you know that it's not step cut from the 1500s? It's the same pattern that they always used. If it never got worn and it wasn't abraded, like I mean, I've seen a step cut from the 1300s in a up close in my hands, in a museum, and you couldn't tell, like it wasn't abraded, it wasn't damaged. The guy wore it in his tomb. They found it later and it never really got abused, so it looked new.
Yeah.
but it was like the oldest colored gemstone I've ever seen faceted. You know, like it's the oldest one in the world as far as I know, but it looks new or pretty new. You know, it doesn't look really new, but the polish was good. You know, I was really impressed. The polish was good. It was flat and it was from the 1300s. It was like, okay, it was forever. And now it will be forever because it's in the V&A. So it'll just, or yeah, it's in the V&A. It'll just be there forever. So
Yeah. I've lost a ring once, and just made a stop on a highway, and it just came off my hand. And I kind of know where it is, but I didn't find it back then, and it was 20 years ago, somewhere in Estonia, and so I think it was a silver, gold, and some very small stone on it. But just the fact that it is somewhere, you know, maybe it will, somebody will find it, you know.
yeah.
And 50 years, 100, 1,000 years, you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I lost a ring one time in a like in a like a mountain, like but it like fell into a stream and went away. And it was like it's like a sort of like a sacred site, you know? So like people go there and hike, and then some people are going there and like drinking the spring water. And I'm just thinking someday maybe someone already found it, but someday someone will find that ring and be like, how did this get here? You know, like there's a piece of jewelry in the water. And it's so, I mean, if I found that there, I would be so impressed. Like, this is a, you know, it's, where did this come from? So yeah, so you never know. You never
And
know.
maybe then someone will write another Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. You know, that's funny. We were just watching Lord of the Rings today. That's a weird thing to bring up. Okay, so someone put this into the comment question, kind of an open question, I guess. But how is the art market? It's a big question. I don't know how you want to take it, but I'll just put it out there. How is the art market for you? You know, making work, trying to sell it, and making such a unique things.
It can always be better, but yeah, I'm actually, that's what I do for a living. I don't have any other jobs.
So
No,
it's working then. Um,
so far.
yeah. Well, if I can, I guess if I can pry a little bit, how how many of these kinds of pieces are you able to sell in like a year?
Oh, I don't know. I should. Yeah, I don't. I guess it's very hard to say. I don't know because in this 10 years when I've been around, it's it has got better and better for me. So I hope it will still continue to
Yeah,
do so. It's also that I'm not a good example to tell because I've had two kids, you know, and like I've been working kind of half time or even less actually during this 10 years. Yeah.
okay. Well, okay.
So
It's working though. I mean, you don't have another job, right? You're doing gallery shows and pieces are moving, and you're not even doing the Instagram hustle that all of us other gem cutters are doing. Is your Instagram like literally has 2 pictures on it, so you're
um,
not really selling a
I
lot of.
will.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that you started posting now, so I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be fun to see where she goes. But you're not really doing too much online, so everything's really it's physical, tangible experiences, right? Like when people buy your work, they're seeing it somewhere, whether it be in a gallery or.
I've had really nice galleries. I mean, but there's it all these connections, and because it's very personal connections, so it has taken huge amount of time. It's not like, oh, we all want your work, but at the same time, where can you have all the works around? You know, it's not like next day. So, but when I first showed my work in a Schmuck exhibition, it's called Schmuck in Munich, Schmuckzene, and in Handwerksmesse, and it's one of the most important jewelry shows, contemporary jewelry shows in the world.
Okay.
And some gallerists noticed my work there, and so things started from there. And since then, I've had 2 shows at Siena Gallery in Lenox. It's and she represents me in the States. And then I also work with the Gallery in London and the Art Gallery in Stockholm. Yeah, Sophia in Switzerland.
Cool. So if people are in Europe, they can. There's a few different places where people can go and see your work right now. Like, is there stuff that's being exhibited now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So,
Yes, and also beyond. Yeah, there is beyond in Belgium too. Yeah, in Antwerp.
so for the Europeans,
Yeah.
but even if people in New York can see your work, so then they can go and find it. They can make a special pilgrimage and see some surreal gems. Okay, well, I don't have too much else to say, but I will just show a few more pieces. I feel like I had one more question, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll pop back into my mind. Yeah, new works. Yeah, you kind of showed us some new works, but what are you working on now? What are you thinking about? I mean, obviously you showed us a few new bends and some new strange work, and saw a little bit more melted stuff. So you're kind of playing with a couple different ideas right now.
Yes. 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 It's also that I tried to make a series of, like, I don't know, 4, 5, up to 10 pieces with the same idea, different versions. So yeah, there's a lot to do. Yeah. So yeah, this kind of bent things I'm working on, and I'm back in square shape, and because I like this very calm step cut, the reflections of step cut, and with quartz, yes, the problem is that the pavilions are so deep, but I can't make them shallower because of the refraction index.
Yeah.
So it's always problem with bigger stones.
Because then they're just
How
getting
to
enormous.
Yeah, so I try to reduce the crown.
Okay.
Um,
What I remembered what I wanted to ask you was, shall we talk about the other book? Because we talked about the gold one, we didn't really talk about the black one. Shall we, just so people know if they're interested in seeing what's in the books, or if they want to get a book, they can have an idea about what what this other show was about. So this is the black one, and I'll just show a few pieces. But so when was this? This was
2013 at Siena's, yeah, in Lenox.
Okay, so this is in Massachusetts. Okay. And they have some stuff there now? If someone's in Massachusetts, they can...
Yes. My new stuff. Siena always has my new stuff too.
And yeah, there's some really cool ones. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't see tonight, stuff that is in the book. So if you want to see more, there's a lot of cool stuff in the books that we aren't seeing tonight, like yeah, some of these cool things. So yeah, so what were you thinking about during this time when you were making this collection?
It was working, just working, continuous working. I mean, it's not a body of work of one idea
Mm-hmm.
that continuing with just a flow of works.
Yeah.
Hard.
So as far as your work goes, and I mean, you're going to different galleries, you're working with different curators. Do you think, are you one of the only people that's doing anything like this? Do you ever run into other people that are doing this sort of, not exactly this, but sculptural gem work that's also jewelry?
Yes, there are, of course. Yeah. And I'm sure there are so many other artists that do great work, and I don't even know about.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course.
yeah, sure.
Well, yeah. So okay, so if people want some books, they can contact you through Facebook.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
the
a-
easiest.
and if people want, maybe, well, hopefully maybe someone wants to buy a piece, they can also obviously contact you through Facebook, um, or just talk to you about a piece or
Yes.
whatever. Okay. Let me, I don't have any more questions. I think we got a really good sense of your work and how it happens and how do you get some ideas, and really that was where I wanted to go today, really just to show off, because I just love this work, and I really wanted to just, for me as a gem cutter, it's like, I don't know, it's like something extra special that we don't see too much. And also I think for most people that are in the world of cutting, who are just faceters or people who make cabs, or maybe they're people that are doing carvings too, but I think people just haven't seen, unless they've already seen your work before. I've just never seen anything else like this. So I wanted to really just have some time to show it to my community, because I just think it's so cool. And yeah, I really appreciate your time to, give us some behind the scenes, you know, thoughts and tips and stuff.
Well, thank you. For me, it was extra special because it's um yeah. I'm I'm really really feel honored and happy to be invited to gem cutting community.
Yeah. I mean, you're, as you said, you're like the outsider, but you're in, you're deep into it. I mean, you're doing stuff with gems that nobody's done, or you're doing it in a way that nobody's done. And whatever, it's all good. It's like there's so many creative people in this community, and it's just awesome to be able to look at the work and see it. So yeah, if anybody wants to see what Julia is doing or get a hold of her, Facebook is where it's at. Her Instagram, I think you had the Instagram for a while, but you're only just starting to post on it now. So maybe we'll get to see some work that way, or if you're.
Yeah, there are pictures of my work circling around the internet. So with my hashtag or something,
Yeah,
you'll
that's
see
true.
them anywhere.
That's true. The hashtag.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll just throw this out there for anybody who, either if anyone's watching this right now or if anyone's watching this on YouTube later, um, and 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 they haven't got enough of Julia's work, there is also a, a a video on my YouTube channel from when you were in Bangkok and you did your artist talk, and it's like an
Mm.
hour long, and you're just kind of talking about the inspiration behind the work and what some of the different work that you've done is. And so that video is up there as well. So that's like another hour of stuff if people want, if people are hungry for more. um so yeah. And then the next thing is to just go to Estonia. That's what I want to do, is go to
Yeah.
Estonia and uh see where the magic's happening.
Justin, I would like to thank you very much for what you're doing. Uh, I mean, that's amazing what you're doing, how you're educating people, all this, your videos, your conversations. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
You know,
Everything.
it's such a good
Wonderful.
way to get to know people better. Like even people like you who I've met before and you know, we've talked, but to really get to have a couple of hours of somebody's private attention, it's like a luxury item, you know what I mean? Time is luxury. So as amazing as your work is, and for anyone who comes on this series, like as amazing as their work is, to be able to sit with them for a couple of hours and really just talk about what they do and how they do it, and get not necessarily the secrets, but just, you know, like how does it happen? If you love an artist, you want to know how they make their work. If you love a band or a musician, you want to know, at least I want to know, how did they write that song? How did they record that? And for, you know, for you, who is doing things that I can't necessarily always understand on first glimpse, I want to know, you know, as much as I can know, how do you do that? And then, so I have to thank you for laying it out there and not keeping it too secret. So we all, I think we all got what we wanted out of this, and which was to see all this amazing work and to have a little bit of idea about the tools that you are using. It's not as crude as I thought. When you explained it to me here in Bangkok, I was imagining something really, really homemade, and actually it's yeah, it's pretty it's a reasonable tool. Just not,
Yeah.
it's not what everyone else is using, but it's good. It's good. It works. So it's cool.
Thanks for everyone who's been listening. Also,
Yeah,
thank
yeah. And for everyone who's given, you know, good questions, good chat, and good appreciation. So yeah, go to Julia's Facebook and give her a like, and see what she's doing over there. And then I am too. I'm always following you, and when I can see the new stuff. So I feel like we got some inside information this Mother's Day. So well, thank you. And yeah, hopefully next time we talk, it'll be in Estonia. I don't know when,
Yeah.
but it's on my list. You know, I want to go, and I've met, like, yeah, as I said, I've met 4 Estonian gem cutters. I would like to just go and make like some video about what's going on in Estonia, because there isn't a tradition of gem cutting there. So the fact that there is a small gem cutting community is really cool. And yeah, it's fun. So yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. And thanks to all the guests. I will be back here next month on June 13th, and I'll be talking to, I'm pretty sure, an American cutter next time. So you'll have to stick around or you'll have to watch social media and see who it's going to be. But yeah, until then, thanks everybody. And Julia, thank you once again. Happy Mother's Day. And I'll see you sometime in the future.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. See you later. Have fun. Bye, everybody.